episode.
Yay.
Yay, we're wearing yellow. We try, I know, we don't plan this. Yeah, right. Maria Elena got stuck at work, but we're here today and we have the doctor. So you get to be the focus today. Let's talk women's health. Don't you feel like that's the episode that most people ask you about?
Absolutely.
Menopause.
Yeah.
Questions about that relating to, because I feel like there's so much to it, and especially because you also do hormones and anti-aging.
Right.
You have all these expertise and then weight management, and there's so much that comes with it. So here's the big question. I was actually reading something about it. People think you hit 40, it's automatic menopause, and you're on the shelf, like you're old. Is that true?
I didn't necessarily feel it right at 40, but in the 40s. And yeah, I suddenly felt like super tired. I was like, well, what's going on? 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, suddenly this drop, like, oh my God, I did sleep good last night. And what is happening? Why am I feeling like this?
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't matter what you do. I'm exercising, and you start feeling that sudden drop of energy.
That's right.
I'm not sure that everybody feels that, but I went through that.
Yeah. No, I did too. Probably early 40s. Is that normal?
I went to it late 30s, early 40s. So absolutely, like you have to take a nap at 3 or you're just going to die.
Or you need
And it's not a 5-minute nap. It's like you need to sleep for an hour.
Or coffee. Can it start in the 30s too?
Absolutely. Late 30s is when I see most of my patients coming in with that little, I don't feel like myself, I'm gaining weight, I'm tired, I'm not interested in sex. Those kind of things always come up. And they're still having periods, so they're not, frankly, menopausal at that point in time. But there is a big androgen shift. And so that shift can be corrected and evaluated, I guess, in a little bit more responsible manner. A lot of them come in on antidepressants and things like that. So I just think they're misdiagnosed sometimes.
You talk about that. Remember she mentioned that like a lot of people get diagnosed with depression or some sort of issue. They get put on antidepressants and it could be hormonal.
Right.
When do your hormones start to drop?
It's different for everybody. So average age of menopause in the United States is 51, but you start dropping anywhere from 5, 6, 7 years before that.
What about in the 30s?
Absolutely. So I've seen people in the 30s even drop. So nobody has to follow that rule book. It's just the average. So I've seen as young as late 30s, and I've seen as old as 54, and they're still having periods and still, functioning as not menopausal. So it can span the gamut there of when things drop.
So when is correct to do hormone therapy? Before having a hysterectomy, after, or both times?
Well, the uterus, when you only take out the uterus has 2 functions, bleeding and babies. So it doesn't have hormonal function.
Oh, really?
The ovaries have the hormone functions. Mm-hmm. So if you retain your ovaries just because you have a hysterectomy, it doesn't mean you're going to enter a failure of your ovarian levels. Mm-hmm. If you have the ovaries removed, then yes, you'll go into an immediate menopause.
When they do hysterectomies, do they always take like now, present tense? I think in the old days they used to, right? Now they don't?
I've always offered it as an option. If they have family history of ovarian cancer, or there's cysts or something that's been bothering them, they might be a little bit more prone to it. For the most part, though, most people want to retain them.
Why do people have I don't even know, because I don't have a hysterectomy, but why do people get hysterectomies?
For a variety of reasons. Pelvic pain, endometriosis, abnormal bleeding, fibroid uteruses.
Okay, for so a myriad of health reasons.
Cancers, so there's a bevy of issues there.
But you don't necessarily have to have it removed.
No, not at all.
But when you remove the uterus, you could still, you can still menstruate and all of that stuff, like normal. You're still a normal woman. I mean, you're still a woman, but...
Right, so your hormone levels are unchanged if you leave the ovaries.
Okay.
You will no longer have periods without a uterus.
Okay.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, dude. I mean, okay, so remember when we were all young in our 20s and 40s and 50s seemed like way, way out. And then you get closer to that number. And then you hit that number. And then you realize, okay, no, we're not old. We're still young. And I've embraced, I used to think 40 and menopause was old and something like you're automatic low, but you're not.
Right.
It's kind of nice, refreshing.
And I think that has shifted over time. I think in the old days when you were 50, you were really sluggish, feeling very old. I think that the dynamic has changed where 40 or 50 is now the new 30s or 40s.
It is. And then
So-
culturally, I think it's more acceptable, right?
sure.
We talk about it more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Karina's always sending me stuff on menopause because it's an important topic.
It is.
Absolutely.
And it's a thing that women don't talk about. Like, people don't talk about it. But we need
I
to
remember back in the day, my grandmothers, my mom and her sisters, it was not something that they would talk about
No.
normally, like us, like,
Right.
hey, oh my God, I'm having a hot flash, or,
That's right.
you know, oh my God, I'm waking up at 3 a.m. What's happening?
Right.
I'm gaining weight and I don't understand why I keep eating tuna out of the can.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like
right.
what's
That's
going
right.
on?
That's right.
So I think now it's more like normal to talk about a lot of subjects, not only that one. It's more normalized. And talking about normalizing things, I hear so much now.
It's very mainstream conversation.
It is, right?
the-
Yeah.
The hormone therapy.
Yeah.
It's like everywhere. Like now, you know, if you're on Instagram, suddenly there's like all this stuff from menopause, it jumps into hormone replacement. What is hormone replacement?
So as the ovaries start losing their function, their hormone production becomes less and less. So when you feel symptomatic from that hormone shift, that's when you should come in for evaluation for hormone replacement. Not everyone's a candidate for it. Not everyone wants that. Not everyone needs that. And so it depends where you're at, you know, on the levels and so forth to see what hormone needs to be replaced, if any.
And how do you measure that?
Usually through blood work, but there's other ways. Saliva and urine are other modalities that you can use to check hormones.
What are the options once like you detect that there's a level off in one of the areas?
So if people want hormone replacement, you can replace in females, you can replace estrogen, progesterone, and off-label use of testosterone. And so estrogen and progesterone are the pretty mainstream ones that everyone knows about. Again, candidates, for sure, there's contraindications and precautions that need to be made. Mammogram being an absolute for me. Just because you can have a progression rather of cancer if you're giving hormones and you have a cancer in your body that responds to that hormone.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, when you're doing hormones, I mean, you want to make sure it seems like you were saying, it seems to be the trend nowadays, right? Everybody getting hormones. But how important is that you're going to someone who knows what they're doing?
Oh, it's super
Because-
important. I can't stress that enough. Especially in El Paso, there has been several practitioners, I'm not sure their background, but that have prided themselves as being hormonal experts. And on the OBGYN side, we see these patients super anemic, bleeding, you know, just a hot mess, if you will. And so it hasn't always been responsibly done. And so I think it's very, very important that you do your homework with who you go to. Referrals are always a good option, but you know, just doing your homework and making sure that they're qualified to be giving hormones. in that
What are
respect.
some of the signs, Genevieve, that there could be something wrong with the hormones or your levels are off? Like, people need to know this. They're good. When they work, they're good. I've been on hormones. I don't know. I mean, you don't have to share. I don't want to expose people if they are. But I felt good. You want to feel good.
wanna
Part
feel
of it is
good.
that it regulates you, so you're not
Right.
moody or
Right. So some of the hormones help with the hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, that kind of thing. Estrogen helps with brain health, bone health, cardiovascular health. Progesterone counterbalances the estrogen, and so I use it a lot for sleep, but it helps protect the uterus against cancers that can be estrogen related. And I just like it to be balanced in that regard. Testosterone is used off-label, not by everybody, but it helps with mood, libido, muscle mass retention, so weight management, and just overall sense of well-being.
and the signs that you're not, that you need to watch out, that these are some of the things you need to look for.
I would say the biggest one that comes through my office is fatigue and then the lack of sex drive. It's huge. So that big shift, I think, is what brings most people in their late 30s, early 40s. And then the obvious signs of stopping periods with the hot flashes and so forth. That's the more traditional.
But
Symptoms.
signs that, like, if you're on hormones and you're getting it from a practitioner who's not doing it correctly, what can you feel?
I mean, there's a fine balance, especially in females, because there's so many things that you have to take into effect.
Consideration.
Yeah, some of the ovaries are still producing hormones, so you may not need as much hormone of one as you do the other. Just a disbalance in weight, a disbalance in mood, bleeding, that where you haven't had a period and you were menopausal and now you're having periods, that's not normal.
And how long menopause? And you told me this. She taught me this. You have it's a full year without your period.
Yes, by definition, it's a full year without a period.
So if you're still getting it,
Yeah, and you could be perimenopausal, which is that time frame before menopause, and that can last years. It's a very fluid definition of
I
what
hit
that is.
50 and I'm like, when am I going to be done with this bitch? She still comes around. Okay, I'm going to ask you something. I started lifting weights. We got back into the gym because one of the things is, right? But since I'm putting on more muscle, it affects, like I'm producing more hormones naturally, right?
They do. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, endorphins, hormone levels. I mean, the ovaries get to the point where
So I'm getting my period more.
it can happen.
I'm 51.
Yeah,
It's for all those of you watching
and that's
see.
the average age. So you're in trend with what's normal in America. But yeah, exercise increases endorphins, increases your natural estrogen. You tend to eat a little bit better, and so all those things are good, but not always for the person who's used to not bleeding.
I know. I was like, I was done. I thought I was done. Apparently not. Okay. I mean, it's crazy this age, right? Your body's going through, but I know what it is. I usually am like, hey, something's going
I
on.
just don't think you're pregnant.
No. I said it. I thought I was pregnant. Turned out I was going into menopause. That's so funny. Okay. So let's talk about like things, healthy. Oh, go ahead.
I really wanted to touch on this. What if you do hormone replacement? What types of options do you have?
So if you want actual hormone replacement, of course, there's natural things you can do, vitamins and so forth, or peptides that kind of increase your own natural production. But if you're wanting replacement, then there's ways to give that. There's topical, and so that's creams, gels, patches, something that goes on the skin.
Where do those creams go?
It depends on the hormone. So for estrogen, they can go on the thigh. If you use a spray, they go on the forearm. So it's typically where the skin absorbs it best or where the receptor is best. Patch just goes on the hip. So those are the forms of estrogen topically that you can give. Testosterone topically goes labially. So a lot of people don't prefer that. Just
And you're vajayjay.
correct. So it's on the outside. It's super transferable by fumes, by touch.
Oh.
And so you have to be careful around kids, pets, spouses, that kind of thing, for 4 hours after you place it. And
But
then,
if you do it yourself, like with a cream, is there a chance you can put too much or too little? Isn't it that risk?
well, the way that we prescribe it is through a pharmacy that gives you a
Exact
meter
dose.
dose
Oh.
per squeeze or whatever. And so that's very controlled in that regard. And then progesterone I give at night orally. That's the only one I really recommend orally. And that's because it helps you sleep.
Is that the only way you can take progesterone?
No, you
orally?
can take it in other ways, which is topical as well. But
Okay.
for the effect of the sleep and the counterbalance of the estrogen, it's best given orally.
Okay.
So topical is one way, oral is another way, and then pellet is the third way.
Can you take estrogen as well orally?
You can.
Okay.
There are formulations that do oral estrogen.
And then you talked about pellet. You hear that now, it's the big trend.
Yes.
So how
And
does
so
that work?
The pellets are great because once you find the dose and the provider that works well for you, you don't really have to think about it. So you're pelleted, the pellets last about 3.5 to 4 months. And so it's not something you have to remember to do every day, and who do you touch, and did I work out, and did I put my pants too quickly, or did I go swimming? And so the pellet goes underneath the skin, and so it has the benefit of the bioidentical distribution. But you don't have to do the whole rigmarole of putting on something daily or nightly.
We're taking it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the
Beautiful.
drawback of the pellet is that if you're misdosed, you cannot pull it out. And so you just have to let it wear down, and then hopefully the provider will adjust based on how you feel.
Oh, so you want to go with someone you really, really
Right.
trust.
And I mean,
Recommended.
there's variances in how patients respond, metabolism, different things. So I can pellet to people that weigh the same, have the same workout routine and so forth. And one will respond with very high levels and one will respond with medium levels.
It's interesting, huh? Everybody's different.
And you don't really want to chase a number per se. There's not a number that you should feel good at. It's just that what type of responder are you, and do you feel good at that level? Some people feel good very high. Some people don't feel good very high. So it's just kind of finding that balance, and often it's trial and error.
How young can you start hormone therapy, or do you recommend? Where you say you're too young, you don't need it.
Yeah, I guess it's based on their presentation, their lab work, and if they're still having periods. I mean, there's a variety of different reasons. why you would start hormones at different ages, but it just kind of depends where people are in life. You can't be on hormone replacement and be trying to get pregnant. So that's one of the big conversations that needs to happen. If you're late 30s and you're still wanting to retain fertility or still trying and proceeding with that as an option, it's probably not the best to begin at that time.
And how old? You can just enter perpetuity until till the Lord calls you home.
Yep.
But you feel better. Is that why
you feel better?
Yeah, for sure you feel better.
That's another question that people always ask. If I start something, do I have to be on it forever?
Yes.
And so I often tell them, you don't. If you want to come off of it, we can pull you off of it. However, when you're putting premium gas in the tank and you go back to leaded or nothing, you're not going to feel great.
That's right.
And so in that regard, you don't have to, but you don't feel optimized.
And you do notice it.
Absolutely.
You notice it. You notice it with the energy, with the sleep. The sleep was the first thing, like you said, that I started to notice probably in my early to mid 40s. Not anymore, though.
You sleep well?
Yeah, I do a peptide. Yeah, I sleep so good.
Good.
Makes a difference. Exercise, how important is that as you age
Very
too?
important. I mean, for metabolism, just for homeostasis, for well-being of mental
Releases
health.
hormones, yeah.
It does. It makes you feel good and you look good. And so as you're transitioning, a lot of times you'll gain weight, you don't feel good, you're not exercising, you just kind of feel in a slump, you're tired. And so all those things can kind of elevate your mood and your appearance and just make you feel really, really well.
Yeah.
As we're living to 90s, 100s, nobody wants to look and feel like they're 100.
No.
So
I have
The fight.
Go ahead.
I mean, you're at 50,
No aging.
you're 45, 50, you're barely maybe halfway through
That's
your entire life. Why would you want to go half your life not feeling and looking well? And so that's the take I take home.
Yeah, if you live another 40 years, like I don't want to look like an old
half
lady.
my life looking like
It used to be that women did. They cut their hair and that's it, I'm old.
They're señora and that's it. Like
No.
put on your sweater, your bata, and your.
I mean, 40 and over, I think it's a new chapter in life, and it's a beautiful chapter.
It is a beautiful chapter. Most of us are financially set. We have our kids are settled, they're successful, they're doing their thing, or what have you. And so you have time and you have money and you're looking well and feeling well. It's an important time.
100%.
Important time for yourself and also for relationships. I think it's a good time to reconnect on those.
I'm going to say,
those
looking
aspects.
back, it's the best time of life. Don't you
It
think?
is.
Absolutely.
It is. My
It's-
40s were great.
Me too. And 50s, I think, are even better. You get more into zero fucks given.
Right.
Like literally. I was going to say, you sent me a video, and as we're looking for topics, and I went back to look at it. It's in Spanish. It's a man saying that the older you get, it's harder for you if you get a divorce. And this is going to be another show topic.
Oh, I've heard that.
We'll
as
do
well.
that 50% of people are not married, and most divorces, second category or age group, are people 40 and over that most get divorces. But that means people enter the aging market or the dating market.
The dating
Later.
Wait. Let me get my statistics here correctly. Enter the dating market. But this man was saying, but if you're older woman, it's more difficult for you.
Yeah.
And
He was saying if you're 35 and older,
You're washed up.
it's
essentially
harder
said that.
because you enter a bucket of competition with also younger people. And so now, you have more competition to date.
Yeah.
And so he was saying it's harder for women.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's got to be hard for men too.
Right.
The same thing, men age too. That's
So
right.
you will find,
It's a two-way street.
exactly,
Yeah, and I went
El
back.
roto para el descosido.
See. I watched that video and I'm like, I don't agree with him.
I don't agree with that either.
Because that's the assumption is that all men want younger women, and they
Right.
don't. Just like all women, we want younger men. I look at statistics, and it's saying that the trend is also shifting where women are dating younger too, and most people, a lot of people older, are looking for different things. Like they already raised their kids. So the only reason you'd go for a younger woman is because you want her to have kids. But the financial stability, the wisdom, if you're looking for companionship and friendship, then I think the trend was 10 years younger, either up or down, either way. Like if you're 50, you may go down to 40 or up until 60. Yeah. That was for 40 and over.
That's
And if you're
interesting.
60, my man can go 20 years down to, but 40 seemed to be the age. I was asking Grok all about the statistics. Unless, here's my opinion. I think men over 40, especially over 50, when they date super young girls, not 10 years, not 15 years. I mean, I think once you get over 40, it doesn't really matter. But when there's Bill Belichick, You know who Bill Belichick is? The coach of the New England Patriots?
Oh, yeah. He has a super young girlfriend,
Yes,
right?
a 24-year-old.
And he's like 60 or 70?
Yes, or 70 something.
70?
Yes, I'm going to show you. Okay. Men like that have something.
That's not even like his daughter. That's
No,
his
it's his granddaughter.
That's weird.
Emotionally and psychologically wrong with them. There's something weird because you want companionship. And you guys know as you get older, you want companionship.
Right. You want someone you can have a decent conversation with that's funny, that's fun. And how can you do that with somebody
It's
who has
compatible.
such little
That's
life
it.
experience?
Exactly. Marriage and
The
even
novelty, I think, is there at the beginning,
Yeah.
maybe the eye candy or whatever. But at the end of the day, what do you
it
talk
wears
about?
off. Yeah, it wears off. So I think that notion that women, once they get older, and did you read the comments in that video?
I didn't. No,
You need to go back and read the comments. I put it in our chat. The women are like, yeah, right. We become more selective, and they're old. She goes, men are. It's the same thing for men.
Yeah.
The double standard that they're old as well. I mean, women are dating younger too. So
Absolutely.
it goes both ways. But we're talking about the menopause thing. Like I think nowadays menopause is more mainstream. Don't you think? More acceptable.
And
It's not as taboo to talk
Irina
about.
said, it's more discussed.
Yeah.
And so it's more normalized in that regard. Being on hormones is no longer, you're not
Yeah.
normal.
It used to be.
It used to be.
So I have a question about the hormone therapy. So now that a lot of people are getting into the testosterone, what type of changes, not on the positive side, but on the negative
Side
side,
effects.
side effects, I've heard of people saying, I started growing facial hair, like women.
Right.
Is that
It
possible?
does. So testosterone is a prohormone and it breaks down into dihydrotestosterone. The dihydrotestosterone can make your hair grow in places that it normally wouldn't. So facial hair can be a problem. Hair
Suddenly?
falling out on the head, maybe not like that, but a little bit more peach fuzz or a little bit darker. Hair falling out is
Falling.
one of the
Oh.
major side effects if given
Too much.
too much, or if they're already having issues with that and you don't catch it quickly, you can counterbalance that, but you got to catch
really?
it quickly. Some people, this is more from what I've read and not what I've experienced, get a little bit deepening of the voice or clitoromegaly. Some people get an increase in libido that they're not wanting. So like more hypersexual according to what they're used to. So oftentimes they're like, I feel great and I'm horny, but I don't have a partner. Go hump a tree. Like I'm not sure what to. So that is a side effect that isn't always, I guess, well received.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's really just gradual, minimal that what you give for women because we
Right.
create hormone
Right.
within our bodies as
Right.
well.
And so oftentimes noodle hormone, I'll start them on topical just to see if they like it first. Topical is a little tricky only because it only absorbs as good as you remember to do it and as it absorbs in the skin. So, when you put on lotion, it doesn't always soak in right away. Same with hormones. So if you're not getting an absorption, you're not really going to see a serum level that is steady and to where you feel well. But those are the options. So I usually start people on topical first, and then if they're doing well and they want to transition to pellet, we can try pellet.
How is women's health in this regard, with menopause, especially older? Has it changed since you first got into medical school? Because you've been, an OBGYN, then you did hormones, anti-aging, but
Right.
I feel now like it's more.
And I can't comment to how residencies in our programs as of today are teaching hormone replacement. It's becoming more mainstream, where before we were told use it very sparingly, shortest duration possible, just for symptoms, get off it within a year. And that was just because of the WHI study that did it on a synthetic hormone, Prempro, and it caused a lot of cancer, cardiovascular events, stroke, and so forth. So it scared everyone, and everyone stopped using them, which was unfortunate. But to your question, I think that it's just more mainstream, so it's just a little bit more acceptable now. And I think that our Congresses and governing bodies
Legislators, yeah,
are making it a little bit more acceptable
and accessible.
and covered by insurances and so forth.
Less
Testosterone still is
regulated.
not, because it's not FDA approved. It's used off-label. But in that regard, I think that the shift is there. Me personally, working with younger physicians, I still find that there is the mentality of suck it up, da-da-da-da-da.
That's it. You're older.
And,
There's nothing
or
you can
just
do.
using it very sparingly, and until you actually go through the experience yourself, you're like, no, this cannot be.
Yeah, they don't understand until you're right. It's only
Until you experience it, it doesn't become a passion for you. And that's just,
that's
life.
the way that is.
When it becomes your own personal
story, then you get it.
Then you get really involved and interested in it.
It's a statistic until it happens to you.
Right.
And then you're like, I get it.
I don't feel good. Yeah.
I get it. And so do you find that now with it more so mainstream and more accessible, that there's more studies and more research that backs up that this is good for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's studies on synthetic hormones. There's studies on bioidentical hormones. There's
They're not as
controversy of
bad
that.
as originally thought, right?
I think that it still varies. You still have to be cautious. There still is things that, can adversely happen. Breast cancer being one of the main ones. But if done responsibly, hopefully you can catch those things and weed out the candidates that really would be better served elsewhere.
What about for weight loss? Are they good for weight loss too?
I tell patients no. So
really?
I tell patients hormone replacement has so many benefits. And if anything, it stabilizes your weight so that you don't fluctuate so much. But there's plenty of 20-year-olds that have normal hormones and are overweight. So it's a lifestyle. So yes, it can help. It can help balance things to where you're not getting menopausal or hormone shifted related weight gain, but it's not necessarily for weight loss.
Okay. But it's a side, I see what you're saying.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
So it helps balance it to where you can maintain a little bit easier, but you still have to do your part.
Yeah, you still
Nothing's mandatory.
No, right.
You have to exercise and eat healthy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just lifelong advice that I try to instill.
It's always lifestyle with weight. I mean, not always, right? But
for the most part, especially in menopause, you can't, I've come across very few people that can be just free for all with their diet and their exercise and not gain weight as you enter into the late 40s.
That's right. You do.
Early 50s.
You do. And you just feel better.
And some people have just that natural high metabolism, and that's great. But for the majority, you do have to be, it's a very conscious effort.
You have to work hard.
You got to work
harder.
Got to watch what you do.
And you feel better.
You do.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Any kind of exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, anything that you recommend for the hair part? We were talking about how you can also
So there's some natural vitamin lines that we recommend. Saw palmetto is one of them. Nutrafol vitamins are good for hair growth. Cosmedex is good. So I tend to try to stay on the more natural or vitamin side at first. Biotin, NAD is really good for hair.
Oh, NAD is the miracle thing.
Yeah. So that's
And what about the red light helmets?
red light therapy? I started using my red light hat. I have a baseball hat.
Do you?
It's getting thick.
Where did you get it?
Online.
I want one. I have a mask and I forget to use
No,
it.
I have the mask and then I have the hat. You should see me. I look like
No wonder your hair looks better. So you do the red light hat.
I do the red light. I do.
And you got to wear on Amazon? Or?
Yeah,
okay.
Somewhere TikTok or somewhere 2 a.m. when I'm.
I have the mask and
mask,
forget
the
it.
face mask.
Okay, I'm gonna do.
It's
we need to do a whole show on
I got like
gadgets.
a brush, but I'm not gonna. I can barely.
No, your hair looks way thicker.
So I just wear the hat.
Doesn't it? ¿Verdad que se le
Yeah.
I put on my
it
little
looks good,
serum
yeah.
and I put my hat on.
Yeah.
At night?
I have not tried the serum, but I got the helmet, the Eye Restore helmet
Oh, you got a helmet
for the red light. And I use it for 20 minutes while I check
me
the
too, like,
emails.
for me, it's a
Send me the
baseball.
link. I just
So
have a
it's
hat. The thing.
The face. I have the face
yeah.
thing.
Is that one better? The helmet?
That's the only one I tried.
And my hat is the only one I've tried. It's like a baseball hat. And it's so easy to, I'm charting with my little hat.
Yeah.
I need to do
And I'll come in and say,
I walked in on my husband. I look like the lady from.
so do I like sending my mask pictures.
I'm like, I'm anti-aging. That's the thing that we do so many things for anti-aging.
Right.
I know we're running long, but it's okay. Joe, our guy. But we do so many things for anti-aging that now I'm like, I don't want to be in the sun.
I know.
Right.
Because-
and I love tan skin like no other.
Me too.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, the sun is
I don't want to be in the sun.
the enemy.
It is, and I love sun, but yeah, it is the enemy.
You guys are nice and tan, so we'll do a whole other show on red light therapy. That's I'm gonna tell you guys to bring them.
Oh, we should
bring them.
I have a brush. I have a comb. I
Okay,
have my
bring
hat, I
them.
have
Bring
my
them. We're
big
gonna
ass
do a
mask.
show. The next one's on that one. All right.
Yes.
Thank you guys for joining us on
Thank
this. We'll see you on the next one. That's a good show. All right.